It's not very often that NBA teams are sold, much less the same team be sold twice within an 18-month period. But that's exactly what we saw happen as the Los Angeles Lakers have just been sold to Bob Iger and Josh Kushner as well for $12.5 billion. This is made interesting because they were just sold 18 months ago for $10 billion. So this is now the third ownership group that Luka Dončić has had in just a short time with the franchise. We'll talk a little bit about that. First, we talk about Bradley Beal getting interest from the Los Angeles Clippers and the Miami Heat and how the Golden State Warriors plan to handle their future because it's getting a little bit interesting. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of the Full Court Podcast. My name is Haize. But more importantly, you guys can follow us at the Full Court YT on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go into this content for today, y'all. So the Lakers were sold for $12.5 billion. And this marks the second time that the team was traded in the last 18 months. Less than 2 years, and a historic NBA franchise has been sold twice. Now, Josh Kushner and Bob Iger are both the leading guys spearheading this new regime. Josh Kushner was reportedly part of a team that wanted to be a part of the expansion Las Vegas team. And seemingly now they've, instead of putting their bid in on that, have pivoted towards buying the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, according to Ramona Sherborne of the ESPN and some other places, that this deal came together relatively quickly. Bob Iger also is going to be part of the new ownership group there. Many people may know Bob Iger is the former CEO of Disney. Now, he was the CEO there. He retired. He had to come back because the guy that took over was bad. Now he's retired again. And so now the question comes is that, how much is this going to change the Lakers franchise? We don't really know. Reportedly, the Los Angeles Lakers and the last owner who also owned the Dodgers were already kind of incorporating the ownership groups into each other. And now that's not going to happen. They're going to have to unwind that as some, right? This is a lot of change. The Lakers already transitioned away from LeBron. Of course, now you're changing your ownership structure quickly in back-to-back years, which is something I don't think has ever happened in NBA history. And now the NBA owners are going to have to come in and try to clear out the mess even more. Jeannie Buss had a contract with her staying on as the governor for a little while. Is that maintained? It seems like it is via the quote that we've heard after the sale went down. It seems like they're going to be keeping on that type of stuff, and it's very important for them. We're going to go ahead and read this now. This one comes from Josh Kushner and Iger, who put out a release that said this. As lifelong NBA fans, we're deeply honored for the opportunity to become stewards of the Los Angeles Lakers, one of the most iconic sports franchises in the world. We have immense respect for the leadership and vision of Jerry and Jeannie Buss. Our long-term commitment is to build on that foundation, compete at the highest level, and serve this extraordinary team, its fans, and the city of Los Angeles. Owning the Los Angeles Lakers has been one of the great honors of my life. Oh, that's from Jeannie Buss. We'll get into that part in a little bit. So, here's the thing. Walter, who owned the team last time, he now sells it, and we're going to see what's going to happen in regards to that one. He owned the team for a little over a year, but this is a new phase for the Los Angeles Lakers. And the question now, what does this mean for the Lakers? Probably not going to a lot change there, right? You look at this. This was the same group was interested in buying, the expansion team, Las Vegas team, right? So now you instead inherit a storied franchise that already has its franchise player in Luka Dončić. I think more so than what this means for Luka or the team, the question should be what this means for Rob Pelinka and the management team that's there. Now, ownerships, I think, I don't want to say matter less, right? But ownership changes less initially than what a front office change. When you change a front office, more can change right away than when you change your ownership group. Ownership groups have to instill their people. They have to learn the team. They have to learn the ins and outs, especially if they've never owned a sports team before, those type of things there. And so I don't think that you're going to see a lot of change for the Lakers immediately right away, right? Because I do think that both Bob Iger and Kushner both understand what star power means to this team. So they're going to want to put Luka in even of a better situation, even in a better place. They're going to want to make sure that they don't lose Luka, because if you come over and take over a franchise and then lose your star player that everything's built around, that's when you could enter and be right back right where an expansion team could be. But you're always going to be the Lakers. They're always going to have a little bit of a draw there, right? But of course now Luka's still the centerpiece of a record-setting franchise sale, another one that's happened. And now you got to figure out what's going to happen going forward. It's just weird. And I know that's not the best analytical phrase to have on it, but it is just weird. And from Mike Walter, who just owned the team, he said this. Owning the Los Angeles Lakers has been one of the great honors of my life, an extraordinary investment. But what I will carry with me is the community, the fans, the city that treats this team as family. I'm grateful to Jenny Buss, the Buss family, the players, and the staff for welcoming me into this chapter. The Lakers belong to Los Angeles, and I have every confidence the best is still ahead. I mean, say what you will for that one. I mean, I guess you flip it around and make a $2 billion profit in less than 2 years. I mean, we could all be so lucky in that regard, right? Like to turn around and buy a team for $10 billion, turn around and sell it for $2.5 billion. That's crazy. So, I mean, the Lakers are under new ownership yet again. Seems like Jeannie Buss is going to stay on as the governor for at least a little while. We'll see what happens there. But let me know what you guys think on this down below. How do you feel, Lakers fans? How do you feel about this, about the sale of this team again, and that you're right back here less than 2 years later after your team was already sold? Let me know what you guys think and how you feel on that part down below. But let's get into the basketball. Reportedly, Bradley Beal is garnering interest from the Clippers and the Heat. This one comes from Mark Stein that says this. Bradley Beal could return to the Los Angeles Clippers next season, sources told Mark Stein. Beal played up in 6 games for the Clippers last season before undergoing season-ending hip surgery. Beal is also drawing interest from the Miami Heat as well. Now, I think we both understand what this means for both teams, right? Bradley Beal is still a name that can help teams. We talked about this earlier in the offseason, right? I do think that I don't know how aggressive teams should be about getting Bradley Beal. Maybe the Miami Heat have a little bit more reason for aggression considering their lack of shooting and things like that. This is a guy that still averaged 17 points, 3.7 assists in 2024-25. He gives a team shot creation. He gives a team still an ability to score, even though not as much as what he did earlier in his career. And, of course, you look at the Heat. They can use extra perimeter offense around Bam and Giannis. And the Clippers, I guess, are still committed to having some veterans on that team, even though they should be headed to a rebuild. If Bradley Beal is fully healthy, he's still a reliable third or fourth option. He's still that, right? But I do think you should be careful. After only playing 6 games last season, availability may still be a big concern in regards to that one. The current impact may be a big question. But I think you look at Miami and the Clippers, they both need reliable players if they're going to have that. Now, what's the best fit for Bradley Beal, right? I think when you look at Miami, I think that's the best fit. With Giannis collapsing defenses, you still have Bam Adebayo who can set screens, he can defend, he can pass. Bradley Beal will be set up to be in a situation where, he can punish defense that are going to be caught in that rotation that you're going to have there. And I think Miami needs a shot creator probably more than any other team right now. And if you can manage his role, right? Again, you're not bringing in Bradley Beal to be the Bradley Beal of old. You're not even bringing him in to be your first or second option. You're bringing him there to be complementary to Bam, complementary to Giannis, maybe even complementary to Davion Mitchell. We just don't know, right? So because of that, I'd say that Miami Heat make a lot of sense for Bradley Beal. I think Eric Spoelstra, he's used to getting the most out of those veteran players towards the end of their careers, and it could make a lot of sense for Bradley Beal. The Clippers, I guess in the sense that he's already been with the organization for a way, right? The quiet trade is still not finalized yet, but it's expected to go through. I just think that what Bradley Beal gives is that he gives the Miami more of what they need. The Clippers are in the start of a rebuild. They don't really, if they don't get Bradley Beal, they don't get him. It's neither here nor there. But I think that the Miami Heat are probably in a position where they need Bradley Beal more than the Los Angeles Clippers. So it would make more sense there. We'll see what's going to happen with Bradley Beal. Like, hopefully he does land on an NBA team, and hopefully he lands in a role that actually allows him to contribute to that team as well. Next up, let's talk about the Golden State Warriors. We've got a lot that came out from Mike Dunleavy Jr. in regards to that. We're going to start off. He talked about how they're looking to extend pods and also have an interest in Brandon Williams and Nang. He said this. When he's on the court, as far as pods, we're a better team. So anytime you got a guy like that, you want to be able to keep him around. Obviously, I have multiple ways to do it through an extension and restricted free agency and all of that. We prefer to get it done sooner rather than later. Now, Pods is a player that has averaged 13.8 points per game last season, plus 5.1 rebounds. But there's a question on how healthy is he going to be this season? When is he going to come back? How much is he going to be able to play this upcoming season? Now, it's great that the Warriors want to be able to extend him. We heard over the last couple of days they're interested in guys like Ben Simmons and Dalen Terry, and I don't know what that does for Steph and trying to get Steph another title, which reportedly is still what they want to do there. But for Pods, it makes sense. Like, this is a guy that is young. You still can convince yourself on his upside. Whether, I'm not necessarily the highest on him, but you still can convince yourself on his upside. and what he's going to be able to still turn into. That the fact that of the matter is he's not done turning into the player that who he's going to be. Or maybe he is, right? But at being 23 years old, a player that was drafted at pick number 19 by this team, you want to look at that. He played all 82 games last season for them as well, starting 43 of those games, and averaged almost 14 points off the bench for a player that only started 43 games. So there's some upside there still in Pods. He's heading into his 4th year. He's going to be a restricted free agent at the end of the year. And as we've seen how you can squeeze players out in restricted free agency, that all makes some sense for this team to try to keep Pods there. The Warriors have to try to string this thing of still looking at the future while also looking at the present and still trying to take a side of it. I do think wait and see, right? Even with Mike Dunleavy saying that they want to get the deal done sooner rather than later, you don't have to do anything right now. You have some flexibility in 2027. You can wait to restricted free agency to get that done, because if you pay too early, it could limit your moves that you need to make later down the road, and that's something they're going to have to get to. Pods is the exact type of player that you may want to keep. But I think the Warriors, even if they decide on keeping him, it's at what cost and the flexibility that they have. But Mike Dunleavy wasn't done talking there either. He talked about what it could mean for them and the fact that they want to keep Steph Curry in that building, which really shouldn't be a surprise. But he said this, Mike Dunleavy. He hasn't said anything different. That's always been the message. That's always been what we've discussed. I think he's tracking quite well. Ultimately, it's his call. It's his decision. Whether that's allowing his contract to run out and move on. Look, if he comes to me and wants to be moved, I will talk through it. We wouldn't love it, but he's earned the right to do what he wants. But as far as the messaging or any idea that he'd be anywhere else, that's not the thing that we're looking at. So that's him talking about that he wants to extend Steph Curry, that they want to keep him there, and you should. He's your franchise player. He's the best player in your franchise's history. So you look at that and you want to say that. If Steph wants to finish his career as a Warrior, he's earned that right to finish his career as a Warrior, regardless of where the team is, anything like that. But the Warriors are this team that wants to have depth. They want to compete, quote unquote, with Steph being there. But we don't know, right? So, we'll see. But I do think the Warriors and the flexibility, the Warriors may have over $100 million in cap space in 2027. That's a real option there. And that's real flexibility for them. If they want to make one last go for Steph, that's their chance to do it. And that may be what the focus is here for the Golden State Warriors, is that just wait to the flexibility. Don't give up any more picks right now. Look at that, and then we have one more opportunity to try to get Steph a ring. After that, whether we are able to accomplish it or not, we may have to move on, whether, for the best of our team, for whatever it is. But just because they're moving on and may plan more for the future doesn't mean that Steph isn't still going to be on that team. It could mean that, but we'll see what happens in regards to that one, right? But right now, the Warriors just sit in this place where they are just not getting enough done, and so we'll see where that leads them. Last topic of the day before we get out of here, and this is a follow-up to the topic that we had yesterday in regards to the Cavs, still looking at trying to add Peyton Watson. And reportedly, they are also looking to move Dennis Schroeder and Max Strus to create the cap space needed to sign or make a sign-and trade for Peyton Watson. And this comes from Mark Stein of the Stein Line. It says the Cavs would offer Watson a 4-year deal and work out a sign-and-trade with the Nuggets. Schroeder has 2 years remaining on his deal at $14.8 million next season and $15.8 million for 27-28. Strus is on an expiring deal of $16.7 million next season. The Clippers and the Bucks also remain candidates to add Watson. Watson is reportedly looking for a deal of $25 million per season. Again, that comes from Mark Stein of the Stein Line. And listen, it makes sense for them to chase Peyton Watson. Peyton Watson, Jonathan Kuminga, whatever it ends up doing, they need forward depth, chasing a young two-way player that fits in with what they do, adding more perimeter defense to help out what they have with the front court defense with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. It all makes sense. With Schroeder and Strus being movable salaries, it all comes down and it makes sense. If you can move both those guys and get enough space to do a sign and trade for Peyton Watson, you do it. That's it. Yes, you can be careful about it a little bit. You're paying a player after a breakout season. We've talked about all the permutations of that. But at the end of the day, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, a team that wants to be a title contender, a team that has seen teams get past them up in the East, a team that's seen every team in the East improve just about. Yes, this is the type of move that they need to do. This is the type of risk that they need to take on so they can hopefully stay above water in the Eastern Conference. So let's see if they can get it done. The Peyton Watson thing, the Jalen Duren thing, hopefully we get resolutions to that sooner rather than later, but we're going to see in that regard. But that's going to do it for today's episode, man. Make sure you guys sound off down below. Let us know how you feel about all the topics down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at the Full Court YT. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. the NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Prior to tomorrow. Peace out.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.